Substantive comments are what's required for BLM to respond. And first, I'm going to talk about what's not substantive. Any comment that is in favor or against without any kind of basis or reasoning behind it, that is considered a non-substantive comment, and it will do us no good in saving our trails. If you ask vague and open-ended questions, that will do us no good. If you decide to use a form letter, which there's several good form letters out there that contain a lot of details, the tip to be able to get your comments to stand out is go to the front of that form letter and edit in your comments at the very beginning. If you can put it in capital letters or some other font to make it stand out as your personal comments, do that, because a form letter with no difference in content considered non-substantive. So let's talk a little bit about the 4 things that have to happen for a comment to be substantive. First thing is question with a reasonable basis the accuracy of a BLM decision or a BLM EA, any document that you're looking at. And it has to be reasonable, and that's why we talked about the relevancy requirements. And some things you can ask are what other science or opinions were not considered in the EA. Was the evaluation balanced, or was it already biased to start with? Was there an emphasis on closure rather than mitigation or resolving conflicts? What mitigations did they consider? Ask them these questions, and why did they not adopt them? Have things changed since the last evaluation? For example, in the swell, that was done in 2021. Some things have changed in that area. The San Rafael Desert management plan has come into effect. The Moab closure with the loss of 317 roads and trails. The Bears Ears, the Grand Escalante, all these travel management plans, that's changed the landscape. So you can question the adequacy of the report. Was it sufficient? Was it up to date? The third thing is methodology. How did they compile the report? What science did they use? How did they get the data that they used to make the decisions? How did they make the decisions on the alternatives that were offered in the analysis? It says that impacts can be mitigated on the general evaluation questions, so why weren't they in all of the alternatives? How did they measure the impact of closures on surrounding trails? Did they consider increased traffic on those trails? Did they consider the opportunity for solitude, views? What science did they use in determining that habitat expansion was necessary? And when is ever enough? If it just needs more habitat, when is there ever enough? Did they consider all the surrounding land surrounding the travel management area as part of that habitat for resource analysis? And finally, question the assumptions that they made in the report. Did they make any assumptions that said that OHV growth had stabilized? Did they make assumptions that the surrounding economic impacts on the surrounding communities or communities within the travel management area would be impacted? How did they come to those conclusions? Were those sound? These are some of the first steps that will make a comment substantive. The second is you can present new information that was relevant to the analysis that was not considered. You can also contradict any science with new science that you find online, maybe in another BLM report, Fish and Wildlife report, public notice, anywhere that you find that information, it's valid to support it here, and mention those reports and cite them, copy them in your analysis. ADA access questions. Do you have handicaps that will prevent you from utilizing and visiting this land? Did they miss trails completely from the evaluation? That's a big one. If they miss trails completely, those need to be listed. What volunteer resources did they consider in mitigating issues on a trail? Did they go out to clubs? Did they ask them if they could help, what they could do? Has your club volunteered to help with mitigation on some erosion problems or rerouting of trails, narrowing trails where it's been braided, anything like that? If it causes any changes in the alternatives or routes, that will make it a substantive comment. Question the process that they use to assign routes to specific alternatives. Ask them how they did it, why they did it that way. You know, these are some really important things, and for a comment to be considered, it must be considered substantive and it needs to be relative. Thank you very much for watching. Get out and visit these trails and start putting together your comments.